record. Oops, there we go. I think we are, hang on, I have a little issue here. I think we're recording, is that right? You all see record button on your end? Okay, so sorry, my computer's a little acting up. Wait. All right, everyone, so welcome to Q&A with Dr. A. This is actually about the fifth one that we've hosted since COVID kind of hit. And what we've been doing is sometimes gathering just as professionals, strategies, challenges, some of the thoughts that we've been having around COVID and around virtual instruction and virtual therapy for the most part. And in other cases, we've brought parents and professionals together. We've done some sessions that have been focused entirely on developing the protocols to allow kids to come back to school and come back to therapy live safely. So everyone on the call tonight has been part of one or more of those. I think maybe with the exception of Christy, but Christy's been a big part of CARD for so long. And so what we try to do is just gather and share in an informal format. This is meant to be very informal, although we will have PowerPoint slides and we will have Q&A. It's really about sharing and hearing from you about some of the things that are of concern. No one on this call has any, responsibility for the situation we're in. Nobody on this call has the authority to send kids back to school live or not. We're just, 6 people who are involved in public education, private education, charter school education, and therapy that are trying to help you with strategies and solutions to the challenges that we're all facing. So what I want to say is CARD is the organization that I represent, and hopefully all of you on tonight have some familiarity with CARD and some familiarity with me. Our guests are all great colleagues and friends of mine. Dr. Tamara Moody is from the South Florida Autism Charter School and so much more. And she'll talk a little bit about, each of them will give a brief introduction of themselves and the work that they're doing. But Tammy and I have known each other for almost 20 years, I think, and she's a very close colleague and friend, and has done remarkable work with some of the clients that I have worked closely with over the years who have, in some cases, a more significant presentation of ASD. So I'm grateful for her to be here. Amanda Alvarez is the founder and owner of Integrated Children's Therapy. So she will talk a little bit about herself and also share with you some of the things that she's encountered when opening up her practice and delivering therapy live. And she's been on a number of these calls with me. She's been on the front lines of trying to develop those protocols for the safe return to live therapy. Alicia Palalis is a great friend of CARD and ours and mine. She represents Broward County Public Schools. She's served in a number of roles. She'll share that with you when we get to her. But she's also been very actively involved in working with us to share best practices for students learning virtually. And she will share, I think, some of Broward County's resources and supports as well. Christy Carbonell is a board-certified behavior analyst who has had many roles, including working at Easter Seals for many years and then being a consultant for CARD for many years. She's one of the finest behavior analysts we have in our community, and I think she'll speak directly to what are some of the behavioral supports and strategies that might be useful for parents to execute and implement in the home environment. And then finally, super happy to have Georgina here. Georgina Medeiros is here from Miami-Dade County Public Schools. She oversees the autism program and has a team of autism support teachers who work very closely with CARD on individual cases, teacher training, school-based consultations, and she'll kind of wrap it up for us in terms of what's happening in Dade County and some of the resources that they've developed. So we have a pretty good lineup. Like I said, it'll be about 10, 12 minutes per speaker, and then we'll save Q&A for the end. I want to, before we move on, just remind people, because there are quite a few people who registered for this event who are not actually registered for CARD. CARD is your statewide support service if you have a child or family member with autism. All the services are provided to you at no cost, thanks to an allocation from the state of Florida. And I already introduced Representative Michael Grieco earlier, who's on the call tonight. Michael was a real champion for us in Tallahassee these last few years. And, you know, right up until COVID, it looked like, you know, Michael was really making ground in getting CARD kind of the increase that it needs to deliver services to so many of you. We have over 13,000 clients here just in the Miami-Dade, Broward area. And we haven't unfortunately had a funding increase over the last 5 years. So we've nearly doubled I think we've nearly doubled our population over the same time. We only had about a 4% increase. So over the last 6 or 7 years, it's been a little bit difficult to deliver services as effectively as we would like. But COVID has really taught us a lot. It's taught us how to be lean and mean and be more efficient. We've launched a lot of virtual programs, both in terms of direct family support as well as child support. We've also done quite a lot virtually in terms of training. We in fact doubled our trainings from our third quarter to our fourth quarter, which was the height of COVID. So if you're not registered and you're not taking advantage of all of that, plus the case management services that we offer, I mean, we really will follow your child throughout the entire lifespan and be with you at every moment where difficult decisions need to be made or important decisions need to be made. So the main number for the whole state is 1-800-9-AUTISM. But if you are here in South Florida with us, and hopefully all of you on the call are, the number for Miami-Dade or Monroe is there, and the number for Broward is also on the screen, and the website is there as well. There's also a link tree site. It's called www.linktree.ee. UM-NSU card. You can see it there. We'll also put it in the chat. Hopefully one of my team will put it in the chat. On that site, you will find a host of resources, both for parents as well as teachers, as well as resources for children, teens, and adults. So take advantage of this free resource, these easily accessible materials that will help you in rounding out your child's instructional day, both using what the school is offering, but also supplementary kinds of activities that we offer. So at this point, I'm going to actually turn it over to Tammy. And I'm going to moderate this. Oh, I'm sorry. This is the agenda just for the night, which you've probably already gathered. It's a group format. We are all here together. We are doing this somewhat informally. So we're not doing it like a webinar where the participants have to stay silent. We want everyone to have a voice. We want everyone to participate when the time is right. So we're all in this together, as everyone's been saying, and it's never been truer than this sudden, I should say, it's not really sudden, but this sudden, it seems like sudden return to school. Broward County started today, virtually. Miami-Dade will start August 31st. And I don't know where the last 5 months went, but suddenly here we are, and we need to kind of rev up and get ready for a new introduction, hopefully an enhanced introduction to virtual learning. So our aim is to share resources and to share challenges that we've had, and to also answer your questions. As I said, we're not here to make any judgments about what's right or wrong in terms of the virtual versus live instruction and the timeline for any of that. We're really taking our cues from our local leaders and doing our best to make this as good as it can be. And brief presentations will follow in a moment, and then Q&A at the end. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to my friend Tammy Moody, Tammy, I have control of your slides, so just unmute yourself and we should be ready to roll.
So can you hear me?
I can.
Okay, perfect. First, I want to say thank you so much for inviting me to be a part of this. I don't know why I'm a bit nervous. I called Susan, I'm like so nervous tonight. I'm not even sure why. You have to understand who we are to understand why we chose the route we chose in working with our children virtually. So first, I'm Dr. Tamara Moody, and I'm the principal of South Florida Autism Charter School. And tonight, Dr. Alexandri asked me to present on how we're going to be helping our student virtually in different strategies that we're going to be using. So one of the first thing I wanted to talk to you guys about, and Dr. Alexandri, I don't know if you want to move the slide. Is to understand SFATs. So our school is just for children with autism. We tend to have students that's more on the lower end of the spectrum. We have students that come as far south as Homestead, as far north as Parkland, and we're located in Hialeah. Our ratio is a 3-to-1 ratio, and I believe the reason why we're going to be doing really well, I'm super positive about our approach because of the small student-teacher ratio that we have at SFATs. We, of course, we had to do an innovative plan, and we had to turn that in to the district recently before we could even start with with our approach on the 31st. And
Sorry. Just, I'm very prompt dependent, so you're gonna have to prompt me.
I will prompt you.
There we go. How's that?
Perfect. So one of the first things that we did when we noticed that we had to go back to school virtually is to look at what we consider good curriculum that we would be able to use in our school. In doing all the research, we decided that we wanted to go with the Moby Max as well as BrainPop. We also use unique learning, but we've been using unique learning before. It really aligns with the access points. And the other thing that I did was I brought my staff back in early. My staff has been with me for the past 3 weeks. I wanted to get a good 4 weeks training in before we actually start with our student. Michael, you can move. Okay. And how I felt that the only way we would be able to support our student is to be able to support my staff as well as the parents. So what I did was we got computers for all of our parents. And not only did we get the computer, we put all the curriculum in the computer. And basically what we're going to do next week is that all my parents would have received the computer, and we're going to be doing, calling every parent, and we're going to be giving one-to-one time. A half an hour to an hour, each of my classroom teacher will be speaking to every single one of the parents. They're going to show them how to get on BrainPop, how to get on unique learning, how to navigate the system with Zoom, how to navigate the system with Google Classroom, because we felt we wouldn't be able to support the student if the parents don't know how to support their children. So, and I wouldn't be able to ask my teachers to do this if we never gave them the training that they needed. So for the last 3 weeks, we've been doing a lot of the trial. I've been acting like the students. This is what would happen. I've been acting like the parents, and how would you react to this? So it's been really good being able to do that with my parents. And I believe that we're looking forward to the 31st because we've done all the trainings and we've pretended like that we've been doing all these MAC trials. So anything that could possibly come up, I believe that I've been that student. I'm also going to be continuing with my virtual training for my parents. That's been really good for us. I've been, pushing them to understand that, because a lot of my parents right now are struggling with the fact that they feel they have to be teachers. So I'm trying to explain to them, you're not going to be a teacher. You're just really there to support your student. So one of the things that I've been doing is, because we have the 3-to-1 ratio, and because we have on staff OT, PT, speech therapists, and we have all these supporting staff, in every Zoom classroom, there's 9 students in each classroom. Within that 9 students in each classroom, there's at least 4 to 5 adults that's going to be online at the same time. So our goal is a certified teacher will be teaching, but those 4 other teachers that's going to be in the classroom or therapists will be acting like support. And Michael, because I'm going to go through all of this in more details on the other slide. So when it comes on to behaviors, this is how we see that it's going to work for us. If a student is having behavior in class, we're going to have these weight rooms that if a student starts to have behaviors, having a meltdown, just don't feel like they want to be on at that moment, one of my staff members is able to go into a waiting room or another breakout room and work with that student one-to-one. I also we have a voice call system that each of our teachers are going to be assigned to the parents who we know their student is not going to be able to be online with them. So we're going to give all of our kids the opportunity for breaks, sensory break. They're going to be doing exercises. We're providing structure. So every student has to be on by 8 o'clock, between 8 and 8:30. If they're on after 8:35, they're going to be considered late, but that doesn't mean they still can't get the work. What we're going to be doing is taping all the work for that entire day, and my teachers are going to be able to post that on their Google Classroom. So the parent is going to, when a student show up to school, yes or no, the entire day will be taped, and my teachers will be staying on Zoom for the entire day. So they're going to be able to have that support after. We've extended my teacher days. So even though they start at 7:30, they're going to have the afternoon between 6 and 7 for my working parents. So my working parents who are not going to be able to do the one-on-one, and they're going to be having their ABA therapist that's going to be doing work with them. My working parents will still have an opportunity to talk to the parents. So if a behaviors occur, my teachers know they have to be given break. And all of what I'm going to be talking to you about, every single one of my parents was already trained on this. They know that if their child having a behavior, they know what to do. They have signals that we've already worked out. Just say something in the chat or raise your hand and we know that's a time for a break. One of the things that I stress at the school that is extremely important that you understand that our students are not deaf. Do not talk about them in front of them. And this is going to be a really hard tool for the parents who are at home working with their kids and the teacher that's at home working with their student. So if your child is having a big, don't say, well, he's not listening, he's done. Or, no, don't say that. You know, so we have a Remind app that we're going to be working with the parents. So in the case that your child is having a meltdown, just text us really quickly. It goes to all 5 teachers that's assigned to that classroom. So we're able to text you back and give you prompts and tell you the different things that you can do. I've been telling my teachers that it's important to provide structure. It's important that we have the visual and that every single one of my teachers already have a clock. I'm not even sure how they do it. I'd be lying if I told you how they did that. I believe they said they got it from YouTube. That's going to be on the Zoom. That is going to be helping kids with transition. So they're going to know ahead of time when it's almost time to finish that work that they're in. Parents will be given different strategy for their child to ensure that we are still following through with all the behavior protocol. So what's happening next week as well is that my behavior analyst and myself will be calling all of our parents and we'll be talking to them about all their children's behavior plan that we have in place. We're going to be talking to them to see if these plans are still appropriate. Remember, we haven't been with our kids in 5 months. So a lot of things that we were working on before we went on this new normal for us, we have to kind of reassess that to see if that's still the behavioral that we still want to pay attention to. For me, communication is key. I believe that if our students were able to communicate with us, a lot of the behaviors and a lot of things that is going to be happening wouldn't. So if a student uses an alternative communication system, my teachers already have those in place. Our parents will be coming to the school next Monday and we'll be giving them their laptop. We'll be giving them the different support, visual support, so that they're going to have that as well in the household. So whatever we're going to have, we use in the school, they're going to get copies of all of that. My speech pathologists have been working nonstop to make sure that we have all of that ready for our students. All of our parents who use an iPad at home right now and may not have one, we'll be providing them with one too. We've already downloaded all the different protocol and different device, all the different apps that they need for communication. Attention. Lessons are interactive. I've been working with my teachers to teach them how to use your body, use your face, use your smile, use your hand, and just let that be a part of keeping the kids engaged. Visual and audio support definitely will be used, and we plan for short attention span, lots and lots and lots of exercises. We found a lot of video through YouTube that we're planning on using, and I would say right now my staff, at least my last teacher I spoke to today when we finished training, she has over 50 videos in her bank. One of the requirements was I wanted all my teachers to have at least 30 videos in a pool of bank of videos that they can use for transitioning. So if you feel like you're losing a student, if you have to get off camera for a bit, just use these videos to keep the kids engaged. This is basically what our school day is gonna look like. We're gonna have academics between 8:30 and between 8:30 and 11:30, and then we're gonna have breaks embedded throughout. We're planning on doing lunch at the same time we usually would, and we're planning on doing therapy, all of our specialists in the afternoon. I've been working very closely with all my therapists because the feedback that we got from parents is that we wanted to have it more interactive with the therapist. So typically, and that was my mistake, I didn't train my therapists as much as I trained my classroom teachers in the last couple of months, but I was able to bring them back early as well. And we've been doing a lot of trainings with them and they've been very receptive. Okay, and then that's just another snapshot of what one of my schedule looks like. Okay, so visual schedule. We're going to be having different schedule for different learners. There's no one schedule for one learner. So one of the things that we've been doing is that the teachers have already started to talk to the parents to kind of, because we do have, for whatever reason, we had a lot of kids who our waiting list has been ridiculous in the last couple of weeks. I'm not sure what's happening. But with that said, we don't know a couple of the kids that's going to be starting the school year. So what we've been doing is talking to the parents to kind of get to know their particular child. And we've been already making the different schedule for our students. So each student will have their individual schedule that will be given to the parents on Monday. Work schedule outline on, on the top of what we're going to be doing is making sure kids know what is expected of them at every given moment. If you don't know, you have the uncertainty, and that then gives you the anxiety. So we don't want our kids to have anxiety. So we're going to be very, very careful with that. Choice board reinforcement will be used throughout our day. We're going to be flexible, and that's one of the things that's been difficult for my newer teacher, explaining to them, okay, I know we have to have seat time, and I know we have to have our kids in the seat, but at the same time, how hard has it been with you for the last 3 days working with me? I've kept them sitting down for 4 hours long, just to show my staff how difficult it's gonna be to have our students sitting down for any long period of time. So we're gonna be working and standing up, sitting down, going on the floor, whatever it takes. We've been telling the parents, if you have to bring the computer on the floor, go on the floor. If you have to bring the computer outside by the pool, go outside by the pool. Because it's been difficult for me to sit for 4 hours, much as our kids with autism, that even when they're in class, we can't get them to sit down for more than a half an hour. So flexibility is important, and we've been talking to the parents and the teachers about that. So, like I said, each classroom has a certified teacher, then it has 2 assistants, and then because the way our setup is, we're gonna
Did we lose Tammy?
Am I back?
Oh, there you are. Okay, go ahead. Yeah.
So, I'm so sorry. It's difficult for us to get substitutes from the outside. So I have a fantastic board. One of the things that my board has given me is the opportunity to hire floaters. These are folks who are not assigned to any one classroom, but they're able to go in and out of the classroom depending on the support that the student needs. So they've been very helpful, and that's a part of our 3-to-1, 4-to-1 ratio.
Next.
Sorry.
Okay.
I'm trying to get, okay, so support at home. The environment arrangement. I've been working with the parents. Some of our parents have lost their jobs in the last couple of weeks. So as a school, we've purchased materials for our parents who have had a harder time. We've sent them materials. We've kind of shown them how to set up their different areas in their house. I'm a believer, like if you have an iPad, the same iPad you use to communicate should not be the same iPad you use for YouTube. I feel the same way about the household. If you're able to have a spot, that's not the spot that they sleep in, that's not the spot that our kids play in, you should have a separate area. So we've been calling it the learning area and the break area, and we've been encouraging our parents to identify those spots and make sure there's visuals all over so our kids know the difference. Label the area for our kids, have all the materials ready for them. And I have 3 kids at home. I have a middle, a high school, and an emeritus student. And I've done that with my kids. Like last night, we're getting ready for Broward County Schools. We got everything out and labeled so that my kids know where to find everything. What you don't want to happen, and I've been saying this to my teachers and the parents, is that we start and then stop, we don't know where it is. Of course, that's going to add to the anxiety of our kids. So preparing the materials ahead of time. Make sure that we consider the different distractions that could be in the house. If you're in the kitchen and you're cooking and then your child wants the cookie or the food, it's going to be difficult for them to pay attention at that, right then and there. I also told my parents, and some of them thought it was pretty funny, get a sensory area. Get some rice, get some sand, whatever it is, because our kids are gonna get a beanbag. If you didn't have one at home before, have an area that when you see that they're getting agitated, find an area that they can go there. No demands is being placed on them at that area. The teachers are okay, just let us know we need 5 minutes, we need 10 minutes. And I've been telling my parents too, you shouldn't care what the teacher thinks. You know your child best. You're the person that's at home with your child. So if your child needs a break, I'm sorry, Dr. Moody, I have to come off for a second. We'll be right back. Give your child that break. You can't just look at that schedule and just, I have to be here at this time, I have to be. Your child has to basically help you navigate the day for them. Consider the parents' culture. I've been saying that. SFAX is like a melting pot of culture. Jamaican, Haitian, Cuban, Puerto Rican, we have it all at SFAX. Consider the parents' culture in the background on your Zoom, the way you speak to the parents. Make sure you understand that our parents are all in crisis right now, so be extremely respectful and extremely patient, because if you're not with the parents, the students are going to feed off of that, and that will cause behaviors.
Here we go.
Okay, so then the behavioral support. I love visual, and I am a big believer in reinforcers. So like if you would reinforce the students at home, at school, you need to be reinforcing them at home. Reinforcement, reinforcement, reinforcement. And most importantly, make sure you're reinforcing the parents, because if the parents feel like they're doing something good, if they feel like they're supporting their child, that will somehow, the kids would feed off of that, and now we have a happy home. And a happy home is what we all need to get through this new norm. So positive reinforcement for good behavior, behavioral praises, catch the student that's being good. Make sure you don't miss it. So my assistants who are online, the teacher is busy teaching. If you see the teacher miss a good moment, make sure that you're saying, good job, Johnny. I love the way you're sitting so nicely. Good job, Susie. I love the way you're keeping your hands to yourself. So make sure that a lot of reinforcement and that remain calm. No matter what happens, remain calm. Just simply move the child over to a waiting room, or move the parents over to another breakout room, and make sure that assistant is going with the family to support them. You don't want to seem like you kick a child out of Zoom. No, you need to make sure that there's an adult going with that family, because sometimes the parents may just want to cry. And at that moment, they should have someone that they can talk to and just say how difficult it's going to be. I guess what I'm trying to say here is that I feel like if the parents are supported well, the kids will be successful. Model to the parent proper way to address behavior. Be consistent, address the behavior. Consider the use of breakout area, visual, and waiting room, like I said before. Choice board, tokens board, first and then. I love first and then. And make sure that the kids know what is expected of them. Social story, visual cues, all of that needs to be used. And all of that I just said a while ago, my teachers have copies that they're going to be given to the parents, and we have copies that we're going to be using from our homes. Have visual with the learning rules. And come up with rules that you're going to need to use. You can't use the same rules you would use in your classroom. So now you have to get creative. Eyes on the screen, quiet voice, raise your hand, do your work, feet on the floor. Review the rules every day with your student, and review the rules with the parents. Self-monitoring. We have to monitor ourselves as professionals, that our anxiety and how we feel about the situation that we're in, the parents and the student don't need to know that. So self-monitoring, checking with the parents. If a parent doesn't come on by a certain time, pick up the phone and call. A parent doesn't come in by a certain time, ask one of your assistants to make that phone call. Keep up with the parents. Keep up with the parents, keep up with the parents, keep up with the parents, and breathe and count. Do what it is that you need to do as a professional to keep it going. This is just a behavior chart that we're planning on using in the morning during language art. Basically, the teacher is going to turn this into me on a daily basis for me to see which families I need to give a look myself, or a behavior analyst, one of our behavior pals.
I think Tammy's frozen again, so I'm just going to move this forward. Tammy? All right. Well, Tammy already mentioned, she'll come back in a second, but she mentioned parent training is a big part of her program. And obviously, one of the reasons I wanted Tammy to be part of this presentation is because, she serves such a large number of kids on the spectrum. And a lot of what they do in SFAX is very similar to what you might see in a cluster classroom in Broward or a self-contained classroom in Dade County. So it's important that when you're thinking about how to structure your child's learning environment at home, a lot of the same principles would apply: structure, routine, visual support, and of course, all the parent training that Tammy does on the front end is making all of this a lot more feasible. Sorry, we lost you for a second, Tammy, so I just jumped in because we're gonna, why don't you wrap up so we can move on to Mandy?
So that was it, guys. Data collection, data does count. you
Yeah.
know.
And I think it's important that everyone recognize that the same accountability is required of us as educators, whether we're virtual or live. That includes the number of days of learning, the number of instructional minutes in a year. I mean, you can break that down by the day, but there are certain requirements that are expected of teachers to deliver their students. So none of that changes. I do think we had a little bit of a dip in intensity, I would say, in the spring, but I think everyone's had an opportunity now to learn and think through how to structure these virtual days for students so that we're meeting those benchmarks in terms of instructional hours per day. So thank you, Tammy. We're going to shift gears to Mandy. We appreciate you being here. All right, I'm going to stop sharing. And Miss Mandy, you're up. You can share.
Let me share my screen.
All right, thank you. And let's just start with a little brief intro.
Oh yeah, let me introduce myself. My name is Mandy Alvarez, and I am the owner of Integrated Children's Therapy. We're a pediatric therapy facility. We do speech and occupational therapy, and one of the primary things that we have done in our practice is focus heavily on the social piece, on really offering children opportunities to interact and engage. And so historically, we have done a lot of social groups and intensive programs, social camps, and school readiness programs. So this pandemic and quarantine and shutdown has really interfered with the opportunity for us to offer that service to children, and for children to have that opportunity in just their everyday lives. So let me just pull my screen up, and then there we go. So, virtual therapy has actually been around for quite some time, although it hasn't really widely been used until recently. But when the quarantine happened, when it started, our practice very quickly shifted to a virtual model, and we had to learn very quickly, like many people all over the world, really. But what we have found is that we found a lot of surprising and significant benefits of virtual therapy that we didn't expect that we would find. And as a result, we really believe that moving forward, we're probably going to use a component of this, at least in our evaluation process. So, but before I get into that, I want to recognize how difficult this is for everybody. I want to take a moment to just say that being a parent and also having to step in and facilitate your child's learning and be a teacher is extremely challenging. And I am a mother of 2 boys also. So even having the background in education and in development that I have struggled with it also. So I want to, I think there's never been a truer experience aligned with the expression that it takes the village than it is right now. So I feel very grateful for the community that we have. I feel grateful for the opportunity that CARD gives us to connect and problem solve together. So I want to go through kind of quickly here and just talk about some of the benefits that we have discovered through virtual therapy, but I also want to highlight some challenges, and I want to give you some tips, and then I want to share a little bit of information regarding our experience and live therapy, because we've been able to do that successfully and even do small groups this summer successfully. So I want to share that too. But virtual therapy really offers a unique opportunity for learning. And we are able to see glimpses into a child's home through virtual therapy that we might not otherwise see. And the really unique thing about this is that the therapist is not physically present in the child's home. And so that allows us to observe really dynamic interactions between family members that might be inhibited otherwise. It also has allowed caregivers an opportunity to participate in the sessions that might not have been able to do so otherwise. And we know that parents are the primary members of a child's team. And in this model, we are having to actually work through the parents, and the parents are kind of in the driver's seat of therapy. So they're learning in a way that they've never had to learn before. So that has been an incredible value to this therapy. The other piece is that we're able to see children and work with them on functional activities in the home, right? So we're able to address things in real time that we may not be able to otherwise do. So we can work with children on potty training or teeth brushing or morning routine or bedtime routine, or for some of our older kiddos, we can work on executive functioning skills. We can work on sequencing while washing mom's car or making lunch. And we can be right inside that child's home, right in their kitchen, and facilitating them through these activities. We are also given the opportunity to problem solve with the parent in real time, right? So if a child is having challenges at mealtime, we can be right there at dinner time working with that child during mealtime and coaching the parent through. We also get to see siblings, and we get to help that child nurture that relationship, that really important relationship with their siblings. Children get to bring their pets and their toys and all of their favorite items to therapy, and that can be a real motivator for the children. But we know that there are also challenges, and we can't ignore those challenges. And one of those is the amount of time that a child is on a screen. And we saw it at the end of the school year, and now we're going to see it again, right? So during the summer months, we had the opportunity to be kind of an isolated opportunity for the child to learn through the screen. But now that all of learning for many children is going to be through the screen, it's a lot of hours. So that is a challenge. Also, we're seeing families fatigue. We're seeing the children fatigue and parents fatigue. So in the beginning, when things first shut down and we all went virtual, parents were just fully on board and giving it their all, and, you know, really helping to partner with us to make a change. But they're starting to get tired, and the children are starting to get tired, and the number of tricks that we have to have up our sleeves to keep a child engaged is tiring for us too. We also see that although we do some virtual based groups, it's not the same. So children really are missing out on opportunities to engage with other children, to interact with other children, and to nurture the social emotional development. And that is a big concern. And then we know that parents have to work, right? It's not easy to play teacher and maintain your own professional duties. So that's also a real challenge. But there are things that we have learned along the way that have made us better, and things that you can do to prepare to ensure that your child's experience is the very best that it can be. And some of these tips are relevant for therapy, but some of these tips are also very relevant for any online learning at all. So flexibility. We all have to be super duper duper flexible, right? You have to know that things are not going to always go the way that you expect them to go. And you really have to commit to the process. It really takes 3 to 5 sessions for a child to learn what's expected and to learn the routine. And those first sessions are going to be challenging. So you have to be committed to stick it out so that your child can get to a place where he or she can learn. It's also important to know that sessions likely will deviate from what's planned, and that's okay. There is value in a structured higher level activity, and there's equal value in activities that are really highlighting a child's preferred activities and working on engagement and attention for that child. So you have to follow your therapist's lead and know that the therapist is going to be kind of going up and down that ladder based on where the child is in that moment. And it's important that you trust the process. Trust the process and be adaptable to what comes up. It's okay if the session is interrupted by a sibling or a pet jumps in the screen. It's okay if you get disconnected and have to reconnect. It's okay if you and your child did very, very well one day and the next day is having difficulty, and the therapist is guiding you through that difficulty. Just hang in there. And allow your child to make mistakes. because it really is through doing things wrong that we learn how to do them right. Your child is not there to perform. Your child is there to learn, and the therapist is there to help your child learn. Visuals are extremely helpful, and the more that you can use visuals throughout your child's day, the better. It helps the child to know what to expect, to know what's coming up next, to be able to anticipate when the end is coming. Visual timers are extremely helpful. I use them even with my middle schooler. And your therapist can help to generate a schedule for your child's therapy session, but your therapist may also be able to help you generate a schedule for your child's school day or just the routine of the entire day if you need help with that. It's important that you prepare before the session. Talk to your child about what to expect. Let them know who they're going to see and how long they're going to be in front of the computer. It's also extremely important to set the environment and remove items that are highly distractible. Work to ensure that there are going to be minimal interruptions. Make sure that the room is well lit and that the space is not cluttered. It's important to ensure proper seating for your child. Have them sit at a 90-degree angle with their feet flat on the floor if possible. Elevate the monitor so that it's at eye level for your child. And definitely make sure that your child goes to the bathroom before the therapy session, because otherwise there's 99% chance that your child 10 minutes in is going to need to take a bathroom break. And it is very, very key that you engage your child in a neutral activity before the session. And this is also important for school too, because if they are doing something that is highly preferred, that transition into the classroom or into the therapy session is going to be much more difficult. And have something motivating to reward your child afterwards, to give that positive reinforcement and let them know that you're proud that they have done well and they've succeeded and they've completed their session or their class. So in order to optimize the session, there are a few things that you can do. Settle in beforehand a few minutes to make sure that your camera is working and that connectivity is good. If your connectivity is no good, don't worry, don't panic. Your therapist can usually talk you through some minor tech issues, or you can reschedule your session, but stay calm and know that we are all experiencing this. You're experiencing it on your end, and I'm experiencing it on my end, so we can work through it. If your device is an iPad, consider getting an external camera so that your child can easily be in front of the camera. We find that iPads are a little trickier to keep the child right in the screen. And update your browser, and if you can avoid overload, if you can avoid everybody on using the internet at the same time during those times when your child is doing their therapy session, you're going to have a lot more success. So this is really just a guide for assistance, but it certainly is not going to be relevant for every child. And there are going to be children who are much older than 7 years old who are going to need a lot more assistance. And there are going to be 4-year-olds who need a lot less assistance. But I think it's safe to say that when your child is first engaging on the journey of therapy or school with their teacher or their therapist, that they're going to require more assistance at first. And the more that they can learn their routine and the more that you can provide them with visuals to know what's coming up next, the more you'll be able to fade out of offering that assistance. And you know, I know that it is hard. It's hard for all of us, and you really should take a moment, parents, all of you and teachers, and just pat yourselves on the back, because this is an unbelievable journey that we are on right now, and we are really stepping up to meet the needs of children in a crisis moment. And we are frontline workers, and we are really significant for helping children to move forward, and we have to give ourselves a break also. But I wanted to I'm going to stop this share for a minute because I want to
I do want to, can I interject just one thing, Mandy? Because
yes.
I do think it's relevant to your last slide. One of the things that I've been popping into a lot of our groups that we run at CARD, and, one of the things that I've noticed that I hadn't really thought of before is that if you are, if your child is 5 and up and is the target of the intervention or the education, you know, even if you're nearby supporting them, be off screen as the parent. Try not to be in the screen with your child when your child is engaging with their classmates or their teacher, because it does complicate, I think, the dynamic of the relationship. So I think relevant to what Mandy said, keep that in mind as you're moving forward as well. And I'll let you wrap up, Mandy.
It's also important for parents to remember that they also contribute to background noise, right? So very often we can be working with children and a parent is on the phone or on their own Zoom meeting, and you can hear that, and it really disrupts the flow of a lesson. But I did want to just take a moment to talk about our experience going live this summer. We worked with as many children as we could virtually, and we really met an important need for those children. But there were children who were not benefiting from virtual therapy and really needed that live therapy, and they needed it urgently. Because we know that early intervention is really important, and this is early childhood is a very critical time for children to learn. So we decided to bring them slowly into the clinic in a very careful and calculated way, and we brought one child in and one therapist in at a time, and then slowly brought another, and we were very careful and strategic about how we did that, and staggering entrance times and having very stringent safety protocols for disinfecting and mask wearing and all of that. But we learned a lot during this process, and I want to just share with you that by this summer we were able to see small groups for summer camp. We were able to see groups of 4 children with one therapist leading that group, and it still is hard. It's scary, but it is incredible how well the children have adapted. They all wear their face masks, they all wear their face shields, and the joy in their interactions is just beyond anything that you could imagine. They had been isolated for so long, and when they finally came together, it was just incredible to see that. But as we've gone through this, we've certainly had scares that we've had to manage. Almost every week we get some sort of information that we have to be very proactive with in managing and make all the right decisions when nobody had lived this before, so it wasn't like there was a manual. And I'm so grateful for Michael and the task force that we put together that has guided me along the way and helped me to keep my staff and children safe. But one thing that has been really important is the transparency that we had with families. And I have to tell you, the day that I had to pick up the phone to call multiple families and say, we have had a positive case come through our clinic, it was gut-wrenching. It was so hard. I cried. I lost sleep. And every single family emailed me with their gratitude, saying that they were so grateful for the transparency. They were so grateful for all of the actions that we took, and they all showed up when they were able to re-show up. They all showed up on Monday. So that was amazing. Communication with families and with your staff is so important. It's important to be flexible and to make sure that you keep your kids comfortable with virtual versus live, right? So even the children that we are working with live, we every so often do a virtual session because we know that we're going to have to move in and out. And when there was a spike, we sent everybody virtual for a couple of weeks, and then we slowly brought them back in. And it really requires constant problem solving as a team, with consulting with people to minimize cross exposure, right? Because it is a domino effect. If you have a positive case, you have to look at every single person that child or adult has had a direct exposure with. And very quickly that can domino into many, many, many people until everything has to shut down. So even if you have an assistant that's going into a classroom or into multiple classrooms, you just remember, if that assistant tests positive, every classroom that assistant has been in, if she's had direct exposure with the students or the staff, all of those people have to be quarantined, right? So just constantly remembering and thinking about that and problem solving it. And there's so many things that you don't remember until you have a case that makes you think about it. and be aggressive with isolating and testing. If someone has a headache or someone shares information that just feels noteworthy and they feel that it's important enough to tell you, you have to be aggressive, right? So you isolate that person, you isolate that child, you test, and you get the information before you act. And also get the information before you act, because once you act, definitely panic sets, and that's not good either. But you know, it's doable. We've been open all summer long. Our kids have been with us all summer long. Everybody is healthy. Everybody is happy. Our kids are thriving. Our therapists feel good. Then wearing masks all day is hard, and our hands are very dry. But we're doing it.
You've been doing it great, and I'm always grateful to be one of the people you call, even though those are difficult moments. I'm glad that we have that kind of.
Midnight. Michael, are you available at midnight? I have an
No, but I
emergency.
think, when this collegiality that we have in this community among us professionals, I think is really special. And I think knowing that, someone feels confident enough and comfortable enough to reach out and at least engage you in the process of thinking through is really gratifying. I mean, that's what we do at CARD. I mean, we're the stakeholder, we bring the people together. We're the conveners, we always say. And I think being part of that process has been really gratifying to me on many levels with many of the school providers and many of the therapy owners, therapy clinic owners. I think we got a long road ahead, but I think we've been very successful in at least thinking through the protocols and executing them. I mean, none of this is going to go off without a hitch, right? So when kids do go back live, we're going to have issues in clinics, we're going to have issues in schools. And I think as long as we have decision trees and logic kind of models and we're quick to act, I think we'll be all right. So, but I thank you, Mandy. You've really led and been a great sharer of the good, the bad, and the ugly of COVID. So I appreciate you very much. Now we want to shift to our good friend Alicia from Broward County. Alicia Palelis, you want to go ahead? You go ahead and share your screen.
Yes.
I can do it if you want, but go ahead.
I got it.
You have it. Okay.
Yep.
Thanks, Alicia. Why don't you do a brief intro?
Sure. So I just want to thank you, Michael, for bringing us all together tonight, because I think the meeting of the minds is how we're going to get through this together. And, I've always been one of CARD's biggest fans, and bridging that, relationship between schools and families. And you guys do such a beautiful job of that. So I'm Alicia Palelis, and I currently am a behavior program specialist with Broward County Schools. I work with the ESLS department at the district level with exceptional student education. And prior to that, I was an autism coach. And prior to that, I was a preschool teacher of kids with autism. So all along that journey, CARD and Michael have been there for me, helping support me. And now I just continue building that bridge between the schools and CARD. So tonight, I wanted to share with you some of the things that Broward County is doing to help families and help teachers to get through this virtual learning experience. And like Michael said, none of us chose this. We know face-to-face is obviously better for all kids, but here we are. And so I think we always have to remember that we always have a choice of looking at something. We can look at it negatively, or we can look at it positively. And when we're looking and working with kids, we really need to look through the positive lens, because our kids are watching us and they're watching how we respond. And so, we really have to make the best of the situation. So I'm going to start by saying to first, as a parent, you really want to familiarize yourself with the websites that your children are going to use. And in Broward County, these three are kind of the main platforms that children are going to be using. So Clever is where they sign on for their textbooks and things like that. But Canvas is really like the classroom. So here is where they'll go to get their different assignments, announcements, links to videos, and things as such. And then Microsoft Teams is like our Zoom. So here's where we have our videos, and my dog is barking. Welcome to real life. So Microsoft Teams is where the teachers will be meeting in either recorded or in live meetings. And Microsoft Teams is very similar to Zoom, where they are adding breakout rooms and things like that, so the teachers can be doing small groups as well. And then what do parents need to know? So for sure, they need to know that they have to log in every day to Canvas for that attendance. And then also they need to be joining those Teams web conferences. And please, 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 if you cannot make something live because you're working, because you're sick, because your child is sick, then make sure you're communicating with your teacher, because they will be recording these links and you can watch them later, or maybe the teacher can do something one-on-one with your child and you. So do not stress about, oh no, I'm gonna miss it for, because of something. Communication is key through all of this. And also, I think, in the spring when we were doing this, we were all kind of like flying by the seat of our pants, where now there's been a lot more training, a lot more support for teachers to know how to navigate this course as well. So, I think the expectation for our children to be on the computer for 5 hours a day is going to be very overwhelming for some, but that doesn't mean they have to be. Okay, and so I want you to understand that some assignments can and will be done online, but they don't all have to be done online. And if your child is struggling to navigate the computer, then you can work with your teacher to maybe request some hands-on learning or hands-on activities. So all of this is to say that, yes, this is the design, but it's very flexible in nature. And when we're working with kids with autism, flexibility is the name of the game, right? And each individual child may have a different plan, even within their own classroom. So, work with your teacher and communicate, okay? On that line, remembering who to contact and when, okay? So it takes 3 to do this education thing, right? The student, the teacher, and the parents. So we all need to be working together. But first things first, always contact your child's teacher, okay? Because many things can be resolved just communicating with the teacher. If that doesn't work, or if you're not getting a response back or what have you, then contact the ESE specialist or the autism coach if they have one at the school, because that's your next line of defense or your next people to reach out to. And then of course, after that is your school administration, such as your principal or assistant principal. And then lastly would be the ESLS department, which is what I'm a part of. And I put our website there and the phone number there, okay? And my role and our roles as program specialists, we have one for curriculum, we have for behavior, we have for speech and language, we have for assistive technology. There's lots of people in this office working to help these schools, to help our kids succeed, whether we're face-to-face or whether we're in virtual world. And then Broward Schools has created some online resources for families, one of them being the Broward Schools Learning Never Closes website. And we've also created a parent university. So on this parent university are links with videos that help you navigate all of those programs that I reviewed, the Clever, the Canvas, and Teams and whatnot, and a wealth of other information, okay? And if you have technical assistance difficulties, you can contact you can email this link here and they can help you with your computer technology issues. And then we've also developed some canvases specifically for different grades and whatnot. So this one is supporting young learners from pre-K all the way to grade 5. And so this is a canvas, so you can add it to your students' Canvas board. And there's a whole training about Canvas and whatnot. But here you can get different learning resources and things. We also have one specifically we created for the ESE student, where there's extra lesson plans, there's visuals, there's social stories, behavior strategies, you name it, it's there. And then of course, for our secondary learners, grades 6 to 12, there's also a Canvas course specifically for that. And all of these are in addition to the Canvas course that your child has through their teacher. And then I created a Canvas course all related to behavior. So on this is strategies related to teach parents how to work through behavior difficulties in their home. So again, there's downloadable things, there's videos, there's emotional regulation stuff, a wealth of things here. And the link is here to enroll in those courses as well. And then just a review to remind you that, in the classrooms, teachers use very specific strategies to help our students and to help them be successful and participate. And so since we're using these in schools, we need to be using these at home too, because that is now where school is being located. And so I want to encourage families that if they aren't sure how and what visuals to use, to reach out. Many teachers are providing these for their students within their classroom, but if by some chance your child didn't get some, or you think that they could benefit from some, please reach out and we need to get those for your child. I think all children need them. I failed to mention that I have 3 children myself at home. I have a high schooler, a middle schooler now, and a preschooler. So I'm back in the game from working with the babies. But ever since my children were little, I've always implemented visuals. Visuals are just good strategies to use with everybody. Also reinforcement. Everybody likes a paycheck to get paid for the work that they've done. So do our students. So we need to make sure that we're doing that. And I think sometimes parents feel, well, I told him to do so, so he should do so. But that's not how the world works. And this is hard, boring stuff that we're asking these kids to do sometimes. So we need to give them a little bit reinforcement for that. Of course, schedules, visual schedules need to be put into place based on the routines that are created. And really, you know, I think it was a struggle to put some, and to help our kids participate in this virtual learning at home, because it was out of these kids' routine. School is at school. Now you're asking me to do this at home? But now, using social stories and calendars and different things, we can really help work through this. And so instead of just putting our hands up and saying, oh, forget it, no, there are strategies that we can do to help teach our kids and to shape that behavior. Change is difficult. Nobody likes change, but we're in the midst of major change. And so we, as the adults, need to be modeling this behavior of coping and being okay and being positive. And if we are giving off that vibe, our kids are going to feel that too. And that is going to decrease some of their anxiety as well. Some of the others already talked about this as well, but you know, I really recommend creating a structured learning spot with minimal distractions. This one is my little guy's learning area for preschool. His pre-K is not open, so I too am working from home while supporting my child learning. So everything that he needs are here in this basket. His pencils and crayons and markers are all in here. His radio for the music time is here. Books are in here. Everything that we need to do for our learning and work time with him is right here. It's away from the toys, it's away from the TV, it's away from distractions. And then here are some other, 2 other learning spots. As you see, they have a ball chair, so some kids need some flexible seating in different ways to be able to manage sitting for a longer period of time. But again, their folders are here, they have baskets with the materials that they needed. That preparation is crucial. And then also, I just wanted to talk about some quick parent support strategies. It's imperative that we collaborate and communicate together. It's not school doing this by themselves. It's not the parent doing it by themselves. But if we haven't built that relationship with those teachers and therapists, we're not going to be successful, and our kids are not going to be successful. So it's critical, especially right now, the start of the school year, to figure out ways to create that relationship, because now you don't necessarily know this teacher. It might be brand new to your child or to you. And so that is essential in then being able to communicate and collaborate to get through this process. Also, for parents to learn and use those behavioral strategies of prompting, of shaping, of reinforcing behavior. And, you know, some parents it be very foreign and very awkward to do that. So as teachers and as supporters of staff, we might really need to be coaching and training parents on how to do those strategies. And somebody else, I think the last 2 talked about being flexible. Some days it's going to be awesome, and some days it's not. and that's okay. We have to remind ourselves that we're in the middle of a pandemic. None of us have ever lived through this, nor probably will we ever again, hopefully not. But the idea is we have to just roll with this and know that this soon shall pass, and we will be back to what we consider as normal. But in the meantime, this has created a lot of stress, a lot of anxiety for many reasons. People are sick, people are losing jobs, people can't go to work because they have kids home and whatnot. So it's super important too for all the adults, whether you're a teacher, whether you're a parent, whoever, that you're really doing some self-care things to help yourself with mindfulness, meditation, exercise, taking a moment to be by yourself. But it's crucial right now, because if you are not well, you're not going to be able to care for others. And also, I encourage you to participate in support groups. Some of the schools hold their own support groups. I know CARD does quite a few support groups, the Autism Society, but really reach out and find those, because it's through those groups and trainings that you will learn tricks and tips like today's meeting. So, you know, I really encourage you. I love attending because that's how you learn and grow. And also to remember that you're not alone. And so finally, it's okay. It's okay to not know how to homeschool your own child. It's okay to not know how to work from home. It's okay to give kids more screen time than usual. It's okay to make a colorful daily schedule or just wing it sometimes. It's okay to not magically feel motivated to work out at home or take on a new hobby. It's okay to not feel okay. This is not normal for any of us. So be kind to yourself. Please remember that there are many of us out there that are ready to help you navigate this journey, and we're here for you. So please reach out and know you're not alone.
That's great. Thank you, Alicia. Thank you so much. I think it's great that you ended on that self-care point, because I think, you know, one of the things that we've certainly learned about our families over the last 5 or 6 months is, you know, what we already knew, which is that they're relentless and fearless and willing to take on any challenge that comes their way, but it comes with a cost. You know, it comes with a cost. I think we're all feeling a little bit depleted. I think, I don't remember who mentioned it earlier, but we were all gung-ho right at the beginning and delivering services like in a way that I'd never seen before. And now everyone's a little bit burned out. And I think we have to kind of recharge again. And that means a little bit of a time to take care of yourself. We do offer at CARD support groups all the time for fathers, for mothers, for siblings, for grandparents. We have groups for teachers also. Teachers chat that will probably launch again. So just look for the group and find the group that meets your needs. Find the, you know, your tribe, as we say. I want to turn it over now to Christy Carbonell, and she'll do a brief intro, and you can launch your own slides, Chris.
Hi guys, Christy Carbonell here. I'm going to share my screen. Let me know if it's working. Alrighty, okay, so I'm Christy Carbonell, and thank you so much, Michael, for having me join you guys on this. So for today, Michael wanted me to talk a little bit about behavioral strategies that we can use as parents at home. I figured all of us would be touching upon similar things, so I tried to make it super simple. I'm a board certified behavior analyst for a very long time. I don't want to say how many years, but I have known Michael for about 13. I was the director of educational behavioral services at Easter Seals for a very long time, and I opened up their autism schools and their programs. We started with a culinary arts high school with 3 students, and by the time I had my daughter and went to partial work, we had a full autism program and autism schools at Easter Seals. My daughter, on a personal level, the way that the pandemic has affected her, she has OCD behaviors and a lot of behavioral tics. Those have been very high, as many of us who have kids with special needs, the OCDs, all the behavioral difficulties have increased. Even our own stuff has increased during these uncertain times. So I've had to put on my ABA hat a lot at home, particularly with virtual school. She engaged in behaviors that she's never engaged in before, throwing her iPad, slamming her laptop during classes, that kind of stuff. So I've had to use a lot of these things personally because it is affecting all of us. So what I'm doing for this, since I had a very short amount of time, what Michael gave us, is just give you some tips that kind of will piggyback on what everybody else has said in a simple way that can kind of help you remember the things you can do to help make the positive behaviors occur more often during virtual learning from home. So, you know, 10 minutes after starting distance learning, some of us might have felt like this. Today, we started virtual learning in Broward County. And of course, we did have some glitches as expected. So I'm hoping that what we're going to talk about now will help you. So to make it super simple, we're going to talk about how to avoid prevention, the first line of defense, to keep positive behaviors going related to virtual school, how to acknowledge good behaviors to make the good stuff happen more often, and then acquiring the skills needed to have positive behaviors during virtual learning. So how you can promote some success. And then I have about 3 links for some helpful websites and tools that I use and I go to that I would share with you guys that I think would be great for everybody. So the first thing, avoiding. So as behavior analysts, I'm not going to give you anything based on how to respond to a problem behavior other than some positive means, because I can't tell you what to do if I don't know the function. Many of our individuals that have autism have behavior plans, many don't, because we have such a wide range of abilities. So I'm going to talk about a little bit of techniques you can use proactively to prevent the problem behaviors that occur during virtual learning so that you're not having to attend to the inappropriate ones. Then I'm going to talk a little bit about acknowledging. Everybody's been talking about this whole evening, so I'm just going to talk a little bit more how you can use acknowledging or positive attention, positive reinforcement with various persons, not just your child. And then acquiring. We've been talking about make sure they have the right skills to be able to sit and attend, the right skills to be able to let you know, depending on their level or ability of communicating. How will they let you know, hey, I'm getting ready to, I can't stand this anymore. And if they can't communicate, there's certain techniques you can use. So I'm going to stop sharing because I like to just talk straight to you guys, and then I'll show you some slides that relate to what I'm talking about, because you guys have heard a lot about this already during these presentations. So avoiding. The biggest thing in behavior analysis is using antecedents, behaviors, and consequences. So avoiding, implementing proactive preventative interventions are going to help you make your child more likely to engage in good behaviors during virtual learning. So one of the big ones that we use, the pinnacle of ABA, is replacement behaviors. You guys have to find a replacement to those bad things that are happening during virtual learning. So the big one that we all know is self-regulation, relaxation, calming strategies. Make sure your child has that in their repertoire. And you're supposed to practice these proactively. Just, you know, hey, let's do whatever it might be, breathing, let's count, let's stretch, whatever those are. You have to do it proactively to avoid the problem behavior. A lot of time us as parents just react and might say, okay, Christy, breathe. But you want to practice it just on every now and then. So with my daughter, I've had to practice a lot of these because she's been having those anger outbursts and the tics and the OCDs. So I'll say, Sabrina, hey, remember, if you're feeling extra super mega mad, what can you do? And we just chit chat about it at a neutral time. Communication, how do they appropriately request breaks, items, activities? So I knew one of our presenters said, okay, they need a break, we have the breakout rooms. Well, you have to work on teaching them how to request a break, however that's gonna be for your child. If they're verbal, it might be, Mom, I need a break, or teacher, can I have a break? So that they're able to practice this before you're in front of the teacher for the first time. If it's a nonverbal individual, you can use your visuals that everybody's been talking about. So you would have that visual next to them. You can practice requesting a break during dinner, let's say, during chores, those kinds of things. So when it's time to use them in real life during virtual school, they'll have that skill available. Appropriate protesting, what do I say that? Those are for our verbal ones, or even our individuals that aren't verbal, how to say, oh my gosh, I really hate math time right now. Oh, I can't stand this right now. Some way to communicate to you as a parent that things aren't going well so you can prevent a problem behavior from occurring. You want to use visuals, like everybody's already said, you've got your visual schedules, but also your environment, like I've heard a lot of people say. You want to have your desk area, their study area, your learning area, be something that they enjoy first and foremost, not a negative area that you're going to put them in. So if you've been used to last school year, the virtual area, learning area that you had has been paired with a lot of tantrums, non-compliance, refusing to do the activity, you may want to choose a new area and start anew because that's already been paired with too many aversives. So you may want to consider changing that. Using as part of the visuals that everybody's been talking about, behavioral contracts are going to be a super great help for you during virtual learning, where they can earn some kind of reinforcement or reward, break or whatnot for doing certain behaviors while in school. You have your first 10 boards as always, and social stories. And I'll show you a few links that already have a lot of these things for you to use. The second thing that I want to talk about was the acknowledging. This is after the behaviors you want. A lot of our presenters have been touching upon it because we all know that reinforcement or positive reinforcement can keep behaviors going, the good stuff. So the first one that I like to talk about is positive attention. A lot of parents might say, oh, why do I gotta give some kind of a reward? They're supposed to be doing this. So I sometimes do work with places that don't even let you provide reinforcement, but they let you provide positive attention, just, you know, good manners. Always provide positive attention to your child when they're doing something right. Yourself, a lot of people have been talking about the self-care ever since this pandemic. One of my biggest focus has been, I know our parents in general, we don't take care of ourselves. Even less has it been happening when the pandemic has begun, because we have zero time for ourselves. So, hey, Christy, you did a great job staying cool, calm, and collective, even though your daughter just had a major meltdown. Yay me! You know, whatever you like to do for yourself, even if it's just for 5 minutes for yourself, attention to yourself. The third one that I'm a big proponent of is positive attention to your teachers, guys. This is a very difficult time for all of us. The same positive reinforcement that we want to provide good behaviors, kudos to your teachers too. You're going to build good rapport. I also have a minor in communication, so that's good rapport building with your teachers. Don't forget about your teachers. Positive reinforcement doesn't always just have to be preferred items. It could be activities or people. Think outside the box. It might be they had a great day of virtual learning. Let's have a birthday party, a pretend party. My unbirthday, I think what Alice in Wonderland said. Something really cool to pair that. Wow, I did these good behaviors. I sat and looked at the teacher. I asked for a break nicely. That kind of stuff will be more powerful. One little behavioral tip on the reinforcers, if you're going to use them, try not to use them except for whatever those target behaviors might be, the good stuff. So if my daughter likes treats. She doesn't get a lot of treats, but I will bring out the treats for specific behaviors that I might want, or extra time on FaceTime or whatnot with her best friend, those kinds of things. Sleeping in our bed is a reinforcer I use for big things or big behaviors that I want her to work on. So you withhold them and use them only for specific appropriate behaviors that you want. Behavior contracts, like I said before, is a good way to have a visual reminder of what they're going to earn, and token boards. And then one good tip for giving positive attention or positive reinforcement is descriptive verbal praise. You want to describe what it is that that individual is doing appropriately. So if you have a higher functioning child, like my daughter, who just rolled her eyes and sucked her teeth at you, but is doing her homework, they want to say, oh, thank you for doing that. Oh yeah, you like that I rolled my eyes and sucked my teeth at you, I'll do it again. No, good job. I like that you're doing your homework. Great job. In your mind as a parent, you can be like, oh my God, but focus on describing what it was that you like that they did. So that's a little bit of ignoring the bad stuff, but focusing on the good stuff so you get more of that. So good job listening when the teacher spoke. Good job asking for a break appropriately. Good writing, good drawing, good job doing your math, whatever it might be, just describe it. So the reinforcement part applies to you too as parents, guys. My new motto is the hashtag self-care, hashtag you matter too. So make sure you provide yourself some reinforcement. The third A that I wanted to talk about was the acquirement of skills. I've seen some of you guys talk a little bit about prompting, reinforcement, prompt dependence, and all of that. So I was going to touch upon a little bit on prompting procedures. So you would use least to most prompting. What is that? Those of you who have had traditional ABA, discrete trial training, where your therapist is in front of working with your child, not virtually like some of us are having to do. It's whether you're, how much physical, verbal assistance you might be given. It's usually like 3 components: verbal prompt, gestural, pointing, or physical, and a wide range in between that you can add. So for all of these academic things, I would tell you to go Google some of this prompting stuff so you can learn how to do it yourself and not make them prompt dependent, because you can fade it. And I have a link at the end that you can go to that has a bunch of videos, step by step, that even our educators can use as well. So the prompting procedures are what's going to help you with independence and compliance. So when you're prompting your child to do something, you also want to minimize your talking. So if I say, Sabrina, pick up your pen. That was a verbal prompt. Sabrina, pick up your pen. I'm pointing at the pen. Gestural. Hand over hand. Sabrina, pick up your pen. Sabrina, instead of Sabrina, pick up your pen. Come on. Oh my God. What do you always do? Oh my God, I'm going to lose it. I'm going to lose it. Come on, pick up your pen. Especially if you have an individual with autism, that's too much sensory stimulation at once. So keep your prompting procedures with minimized talking. Redirecting to appropriate alternative behaviors. Once you figure out what's going to be that appropriate alternative, you want to redirect them when a problem behavior does occur. That would be one thing that I can recommend. So, hey, Sabrina, you look really upset right now. How about if you just tell me I need a break, please? Or place that break card in your child's hand so they can request or show the teacher while they're in virtual school to request it. Shaping strategies is another great way to acquire skills. You're not going to expect your child. I can't remember who talked about it. It's so hard for us to sit here for 4 hours. How are you going to expect your kid to sit for so long? You want to use shaping strategies. Another thing you can Google. It's basically little baby steps towards what you want. So a behavior that you will have to definitely work on. You guys have about a week and a half before school starts in Miami-Dade, is sitting and attending. So you can use your visual timers, like I've heard many of us, our presenters, have discussed, and start a very small amount of time per sitting. When the timer goes off, oh yeah, good job sitting, look, let's get up. And you start increasing it as they're attending or sitting or doing that task for longer periods of time. I've started with clients for like 10 seconds, literally 10 seconds sitting. That's all they can do. All right, yay, good job. And then we go ahead and start increasing. So look at that shaping process for those behaviors that you want. For shaping, you want to consider a little bit more of using some kind of a really strong reward or reinforcer, because you want to really make it powerful for those kinds of behavior. Then the last tip I want to give you is pairing. Pairing all those things we don't like with things we do like. So all these academic things, like where they're going to work, their work area, make it visually appealing. Depending on your child, whether they need plainness, they can still have maybe like a decoration of their preferred character, maybe their favorite color, depending on how they are with distractions. You want to pair that work area with things that they do enjoy, because it's not fun, you guys, virtual, as you guys know. All right, I'm going to share my screen again and share screen. And okay, share. All right, so the proactive preventative tools are going to be your best friend as a parent having to go through the virtual school. Work on these replacement behaviors, practice relaxation, appropriate, whatever their request might be, using manipulatives to calm them down, and all the visuals that everybody's been talking about. Catch everyone in the act of being good. Acknowledge positive attention always for your child, yourself, and your teacher, guys. Try to use your positive reinforcement items or activities only for the target behaviors. Use token boards, behavior contracts, so you have a visual reminder of what they're going to learn, and the descriptive praise that we talked about. For skill building, prompting procedures, redirecting them to alternative behaviors. And as parents, guess what? We have to model those replacement behaviors too. So avoid yelling at your child for refusing to do certain things. It's hard. We're not perfect. Some days are going to be better than others, like we've all said, but you have to keep at it. Don't give up. Shape them towards the behaviors you want, little baby step, and pair with a lot of the things that you don't like with what they do. Here are some examples I just wanted to share. These are personal ones for me and my daughter. This is her setup for 3rd grade. She was not looking forward to school. So the last few weeks, we've paired her work area with rainbows, which is her preferred color is rainbow, not one color, all of them. So she is able to tolerate all these colors. When she was in kindergarten, however, she was not able to. She needed real focus. So we transformed the office from this to complete cleanliness, no distractions whatsoever. Throughout the last few years, we've added, as you can see where we are. Here's another example. So she's got her manipulative, which is one of her replacement behaviors for when she gets upset, so that we don't slam computers and possibly break them. Another behavior she would have during virtual learning, I need some water, I need some water. So now she has water right there so she doesn't escape and avoid her class. And I'm also pairing at the same time. This example was kindergarten. It's like a mini token board. It was just stickers. This is easy stuff. You don't have to spend a lot of money on it. I still have it because she had so much homework that we filled up her thing, and I keep it as a reminder of how tough. So the COVID days, like I call them, are reminding me of back in kindergarten where I had to pull out all the bells and whistles. Treats, like we talked about, for those children who can. This one, these two over here, I wanted to share because I did say the positive attention and positive reinforcement for our teachers. I'm a big proponent of that. Every school year, I give the teachers a first week of school survival kit, something every day. Couldn't do that this year, but we luckily had a drive through pick up your textbook, meet your teacher from the car. So we dropped off a little letter with a Starbucks card and a Starbucks cup and a picture of Sabrina without her mask, because she wouldn't know what Sabrina looks like because she had to wear a mask at the drive-through. This was during virtual school at the end of the year when we had Teacher Appreciation Week, which I normally like to give a little something. So instead, we had Sabrina draw something for her teacher. I videotaped her describing what she had drawn and emailed to the teacher. So all these things, positive reinforcement, connecting to your teacher is going to help quite a bit. And, you know, everybody deserves kudos. Here's I wanted to give you a visual of the prompting hierarchy. Least to most is for skills they've already have or to promote compliance and reduce being dependent on your prompting. And most to least would be if you're teaching something brand new. And these are the 3 resources that I thought would be great. I'll click on them very quick just so you guys can kind of get an idea. So this website has a video library of anything you want to see. You can search interventions. It has specific descriptions of each type of prompt. And if you scroll all the way to the bottom, it has like a downloadable PDF of step-by-step instructions for least to most, most to least. So
let me interject. It's not opening for us yet, but what I'll do is if you can send me, Christy, the PowerPoint handout, we'll share all, and actually all the speakers, we'll share them with the participants through Eventbrite. That'd be fine.
And then the other 2 are Victories in Autism. That's categorized. You can get free visuals. This last one is, you know, us behavior analysts, sharing is caring. In our Facebook groups that I'm part of for behavior analysts, we just upload stuff for everybody to use. Somebody compiled an entire Google file of a bunch of free resources with contracts, visuals, homework, token economies, all that kind of stuff. And that's it. And one little thing I wanted to add here, a part of my BRIABA service, we have an e-learning academy, and the focus, like we've been talking, is taking care of ourselves. So I have several free stress and anxiety mini-series in English and Spanish for you guys to check in and not forget about yourself, because, you know, if we don't take care of ourselves, we're not able to take care of our children and help them during these uncertain times. And that's about it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Christy, and thank you for all of it, but I think especially acknowledging that teachers need kudos too, like that positive reinforcement for what teachers are trying to do right now is really helpful. I think we sometimes forget they're figuring it out too at the same time that we are. And I think things will be better this time around given the preparation, but let's just pat each other on the back when things are going well. Of course, acknowledge when things aren't as well, and let's try to fix them, but let's fix them with a smile. We're going to turn it over now to last but not least, and we will have a hard stop right at 8:30, guys, so we'll hear from Georgina and then have some time for some Q&A. But Georgina Medeiros from Miami-Dade Schools, I wanted her to go last because I knew, the majority of people that were registering were parents from Miami-Dade. So wanted to kind of end with a bang. So Georgina, take it away. Let's see, you might be on mute. There we go.
There you go.
Hi.
Okay, good evening, everyone. I put together very quick slides, but I also want to point out the picture I chose for my front slide, because I feel like that's what we all kind of feel like right now, like, oh my goodness. So just realize that we're all, we're all in different situations, but we're all in a situation now. So we're all going to be supporting each other as we go forward. Before I get into a very brief overview of what services and supports and curriculum we've created for ESE students and our students on a standard curriculum, I want to also say that Broward started today. I've heard some really great things. They did really well. I have some friends who their kids go there.
Hang on, Georgina. I just want to remind everyone to please mute. Please, everyone. Thank you.
Hold on one second. I think that might have been my
It might have been you. Okay. Then you're forgiven.
Okay. Well, my husband's voice projects. So we are doing a week of welcome next week. So this is something definitely, if you're a parent and you have a lot of anxiety or angst and you have questions, we actually put together on-demand webinars for all the parents, covering a large area of support. So it's going to be, all of them are going to be listed at miamiweekofwelcome.com. And that's going to be starting on the 24th through the 28th. And that we're envisioning, of course, giving the supports to families, giving the extra time, so that way there's not a little bit more of preparedness and knowing what's going to happen on Monday. We also have, if you have questions, they have a way to submit questions prior to Friday. Go to questions@dadeschools.net and you can ask your questions, and they will be compiled into frequently asked questions and answered. So I do know that we're trying to reach out and support parents. That's a large part of what I'm doing right now, is reaching out and talking to parents and trying to help out. The one thing we're going to be doing is, and I heard Broward saying something very similar, and even Dr. Alessandra, you actually spoke about the time on task. We understand that students are not going to be able to sit in front of a computer. We couldn't either for 6 hours straight. But we do know instruction needs to go back to the school model. So we are going to reinstitute our bell schedule. So students' day is going to be modeled after what they would do in a schoolhouse or a physical building. So all of the school during stage 1, when it's virtual, the student school day will start at the normal time it would as if they were going to school, and it would end at that normal time as well. That doesn't mean they're going to be sitting on a computer from 8:35 to 3:05. What that means is during that time, they're going to have the same type of instruction they would at school. So if we have the morning routine starts with morning announcements, we'll have morning announcements through virtual. Then we'll go into our first block, which might be reading. And in a reading class, the teacher's not going to lecture for 90 minutes. They may read a story to the whole group. And then they may have small groups broken up into breakout sessions, doing individual or independent work, doing work as a small group, a whole group. That movement back and forth should break up your child's day. Now, I know that I'm talking to a variety of parents with children with different needs. If your child has needs, accommodations, we're going to break that into their day as well. So if they need frequent breaks, a motivation, all those different things, all of those services and supports will be built into their day. The paraprofessionals, the therapists, they're all going to be pushing in. They're all going to be helping to engage your child. But it's also going to take those signs. In the classroom, we might see a sign that we might not notice in virtual. So if you see your child needs that break, then that just needs to be communicated. And if you feel the teacher's pacing is too fast or the child's not getting something, communication is really important. Reach out to your child's teacher. Let them know what's going on, and you guys together can try to figure out how to get past that barrier. So their day is going to consist of the same thing they would in school: whole group, small group, one-on-one instruction, individual activities they can practice, and not everything will be on the computers. We will also have breaks, time for recess, time for lunch. So it's going to be modeled what they would be doing in the school day as much as possible. This will help us shift when we go to stage 2. So we can shift into the same type of routine, but in a schoolhouse model, but the same schedule, same teacher, same bells. Curriculum. So we did purchase, or we are going to be using K12.com. It is a curriculum that has been vetted and used for years. And it's designed to work in a face-to-face model as well as online. So that once again, the idea is when your child goes from virtual to in the classroom, they're using the same curriculum, the same materials, the same concepts. So there's not going to be like, oh, now we have a lag. It's going to be consistent, going back and forth. Standard curriculum, the teachers and the students will be provided what we're calling learning maps. So a lot of parents gave us feedback that they were confused of where to log on. How do they get to this app or that app or BrainPop or Teams? We're going to be giving them one map that has, let's say the story of the week is Freckle Juice, and we have resources for our students in BrainPop and IXL. All those links, one place for the child to go and click on their different things instead of having to log into this or that or this. So we're trying to streamline everything so the child will be more independent, but also be less confusion, less times to have to log into different things. Modified curriculum students, or students accessing the curriculum using access points, they're going to be receiving supplemental resources just like they do in the classroom. We're going to use supplemental curriculum including Unique, Attainment, IXL. We're also going to use Learning A to Z. We're going to use BrainPop, and these are all going to be the foundations of our supplemental resources for our students. We know that social interaction is really important, and that's something that a lot of us are lacking, even adults. You know, when I first saw all the faces today on Zoom, I wanted to like just, hi, how are you? Because we need that. So just really emphasizing what your child can and can get out of the social interactions through Zoom and through other video conferencing is going to help your child to get the most out of virtual education as well. So they're going to be Zooming or video conferencing with their teachers, their paraprofessionals, classmates, older students or students that are capable of doing group work. They're going to be doing that in small rooms as well. So if you can take your child and let them use video conferencing, FaceTime, Messenger, WhatsApp, to get more familiar with making the eye contact and talking with loved ones and bringing that in, pairing it with something they really enjoy, they may be more comfortable using the video conferencing. It does take, it's something we have to teach. It does take a little more. I'm teaching adults and teachers how to use this. We need to teach the children how to use it as well. How to prepare. Most of the conversations I'm having with parents right now is the unknown. We are all unsure of what's going to happen on the 31st. So really just talk to your child. Share some social stories with them. Create routines already and practice those routines. You saw all the different setups of the different classroom areas or learning areas in the home. Do that practice now. Get them used to going to that in the morning, having a preferred activity, a story that they'd like to read will help pair that up with something they look forward to. And then, of course, build excitement. Make sure that you're portraying this as positive. A lot of times we're anxious, and that anxiety is going to be felt by our children as well. Get them back into a routine that helps them be refreshed in the morning. Practice their day, and remember, they're taking their cues from you. Another resource for parents is a lot of resources on reopening.dadeschools.net. But if you wanted to look there, we have a reopening guide, which has a lot, pages and pages of questions and answers and links and examples. So that's another resource to parents as well. It's at reopening.dadeschools.net. And we actually created this, and I know that Dr. Alessandra, your team has also been sharing this information. If you have a question, we always encourage you to go directly to your child's school, to the teacher, the support staff, or the administrators. But if you feel that you're just not being heard or you don't know how to get in touch with them, you can go ahead and use ese@dadeschools.net. It's an easy to remember email address. You send them your concerns, your information to ese@dadeschools.net, and it will get to the correct supervisor to be able to give you a call, listen to what's going on, and then together we can find a solution and a support for your child in your situation. So I really love this. This has been, for me, the best outcome of COVID is I have one way that I can say any parent, if you have a question or you have a concern and you don't know what to do, you can reach out to ese@dadeschools.net and a supervisor will get back to you. And I've had great reactions with all the parents that I've been able to talk to. So communication is really key. So I know this was very brief. I only had a few minutes and we have so many layers being put into it. I really wanted you to know where to reach out if you have more questions with the week of welcome and having all the different support webinars going through that, as well as another resource is ese@dadeschools.net, so you can find out any other questions we haven't answered.
Great. Thank you, Georgina. Thank you. And short and sweet. I love it. And we love that email address as well. We're using it quite a bit. I'm going to stop the recording.